We are now in Big Bend, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about how we got in here, because we were kind of confused the best way to come. So we left Fort Davis and made a quick stop at the library to use their free Wi-Fi. And then we went down to Marfa because there were no laundromats we couldn't find a laundromat in Fort Davis. So we went to Marfa, and they have a nice laundromat with really good Wi-Fi and a little coffee place right next door. And then and we stopped and got fuel in Marfa because we, this is a very remote area, and so we thought we would top off every time we passed a place that sold diesel. So we topped off in Marfa, and then we headed south on 67 to Presidio, where we got a few more gallons, not knowing what the situation would be as we got closer to the park. And partly because you just never know when a station is out of diesel, or something can always happen. So we went through Presidio, and then you follow along on a scenic highway, Highway 170, and it, by the way, I'm making pancakes again. We're going to use up the blueberries. We followed 170 along the Rio Grande River, which was really lovely, and it gets more beautiful the farther you go in. We stopped at a place called Hoodoo. It was the Hoodoo Trailhead. Took a little hike there, and by the way, we did follow the advice of several of you. We bought the annual Texas State Park Pass, and that gets you into all the state parks for free. So we've already used it, I think 2 or 3 times, and then arrived. Then we went through Terlingua. We actually missed the ghost town. I don't know how we missed it, but we did. So we filled up, we topped off again there, and then drove into the Panther Junction Visitor Center, where we got the, you have to, if the gatehouse is not operated when you come in, you have to go to the Visitor Center and get the, the sticker for your car, so they know you've paid your fee or you've shown them your, your annual pass. And then we had made reservations at Chisos just a few days before, and Chisos Basin, and it's only for small rigs like our, Sprinter vans or really tiny trailers. There's a Bambi Airstream just over here. It's a very windy road coming in, and so I can see why they say no trailers over 20 feet. And today we are going to, and by the way, this campsite that we have is pretty amazing. Super tight fit. If you have something that's, if you have a Sprinter van or, something, even the extended van length, our site number is 40, I think it's 43, and it's got this great view. So we're here for 2 nights, and we've already spent 1 night here. The temperature last night got down to 30, well, depending on which app you use, and I've been asked which weather apps we use. We use the weather app as well as Dark Sky, and depending on where they're measuring their temperature, the one from Dark Sky actually was Chisos Basin, and it said 36, I think, or something like that. It was the coldest last night. And in the weather app said it was 29 at Panther Junction. So pretty cold, but I turned on that electric blanket and it was perfect. I did that about 2 a.m. when I got a little chilly, turn it on. And then I noticed in the van this morning we got up, the low temperature in the van, according to the thermometer here, was 49 degrees. Today we're going to take a hike down to it's called Window Trail, and you descend about, I don't know, I'll have to look it up. You descend down to the overview, and then you have to walk back up. So we're definitely going to take 2 walking sticks. We find it's kind of treacherous going downhill at our age. That's when you're tired. That's when you make the most mistakes. But of course, this one is going to be reversed. We'll be going downhill first and then uphill on the way back. And so after our pancakes, blueberry pancakes, we're going to hit the road. Oh, one more thing I want to mention. The sun, it's hidden behind this mountain over here. It's 9:46. The sun has just crested the top of that peak. And so we're finally getting some sun on the van. And we didn't have, sun hitting the van until very late, 9:45. So I wasn't really interested in getting out on an early hike. But now it'll be warming up and it'll be a much more pleasant hike, as well as the wind has died down. Really lucky because yesterday was really windy and the wind has died down. And so we should have a really nice hike. We are bugging out of Chisos Basin and going to head toward St. Elena Canyon, I think it's called. It's one of those spots they say you shouldn't miss when you're at Big Bend. We are dumping our tanks because there actually is a dump station here, which is kind of surprising because it's really a tenter's campground. But there are lots of hiking spots from here, which is really great. If we had more time, we'd try them, but we just did the Window Trail. And then tonight we're staying at the Rio Grande Village, or something like that. This is one of the coolest little hikes we've ever done down this canyon. And except for the first part, which is a bit sketchy because there's water, they're actually releasing water. I've been told that that's often not the case, and so you have to kind of scramble up some loose, it's like limestone. But other than that, it's just an amazing little hike.
what's for dinner?
Well, we're getting a little low on food, so I boiled up some pasta, and we have some spinach left over, so I threw that in there with some. We also had just a little bit of spaghetti sauce, so I threw that in there. We'll put some cheese on top, and that's it.
I think it looks delicious.
Okay, well, we'll see. This park keeps on giving. This beautiful nature trail that leaves the campground here at Rio Grande. And we're hiking up to the top and going to see a wonderful sunset. But we were talking about the way, if we were planning this, we probably would have planned to come into the park the same way we did from Presidio and stay maybe 2 nights at Cottonwood and then 2 nights at Chisos. It's Cheeto without the T, Chisos, and then 2 nights at Rio Grande Village. And I think that would be a great way to see the park. And then you can do some exploring around those areas and the hikes. And there's so many hikes that we didn't do and we didn't get to see, but we'll definitely be coming back here because this place, there's so few people. I mean, you really get that feeling of, it's like Alaska with even fewer people. At least it seems like it. So if you come here, make sure you do the nature trail. Just went through the U.S. entry point, and they said, don't bring back any meat, any rocks, any wood, any fossils, any of that stuff. Other than that, we're good to go. You got to have your passport, obviously. And hours are 8 to 5, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're going to go down and get a boat, and it's $5 round trip per person. The small Mexican town of Boquillas sits on the banks of the Rio Grande River in the Mexican state of Coahuila. Originally a mining community, it's now tourism that's the principal support for the few hardy souls living in this outpost that is 150 dirt miles from the nearest services. The crossing was closed after 9/11 when it saw half of its residents leave. Since reopening in 2013, thanks to the efforts of the Park Service, the population has increased to over 200. Overlook, you can see Boquillas way out there in the distance. That's where we went today in Mexico.
Winner, what's for dinner?
We have our last homegrown avocado. So we're going to use up our last English muffins, have avocado cheese toast and baked beans. And stock up tomorrow, because tomorrow we're heading off to Kickapoo State Park, another Texas state park that's supposed to have gazillions of bats. However, the weather says it might be raining, so I don't know if bats fly. I don't know if they leave the cave when it's raining, but we will find out. And that tip came from Lori Alton, one of our subscribers. She gave me a whole bunch of tips for Texas State Park, so thank you, Lori. And we will be seeing her hopefully in a couple days. viewer David Roddy asked me to talk a little bit about trekking poles. I've had probably 6 pair in my mini decade of hiking, and we have found that the ones that have the twist lock, the ones that twist the different sections together, always fail. I have not had a single one that didn't fail, and some of them were more expensive. So we've settled on the ones that have a lever lock. They don't fail, unless we've never had them fail, and they're much faster to set up. So you just pull it out to your, there are little marks on here, and you just pull them out, and they're good to go. So it's a little bit like a tripod. It's much easier to set up a tripod that has these levers than one that has twists. These are Black Diamond trekking poles, and I'm not pushing any particular brand, but we have really gotten a lot of mileage out of these and had no problems. These are the carbon fiber. You can also buy trekking poles that are steel or aluminum, but we think the carbon fiber are, they're lighter weight and they really are durable. It's kind of ironic. The very first video I put up on this channel when I was just experimenting was how to change the tip on these poles, because it was a little confusing when I had read the directions. So I shot a little video and replaced the steel tip with the rubber tip, which is nice when you're out hiking because you don't hear the clicking so much. They're also probably a little less harmful or damaging to sensitive environmental areas. And I've noticed that these tips are already ground down to the metal, so I need to replace these when we get home. They're best not used on asphalt and hard surfaces like concrete. The baskets are also replaceable. Sometimes, people use these for snowshoeing or whatever, so you would want a bigger basket, and that can be replaced. The handle has a strap that I tend not to use because I find that if my pole gets stuck between 2 rocks, it will kind of trip you up. And so I just grab it like this. I think we both prefer to wear gloves, either fingerless gloves like you'd wear maybe cycling, or solid gloves if it's colder. And that really is nice because you can get blisters on your hands, and it also keeps your hands from getting sunburned. I've had, when you're hiking all day long and your hands are up like that, you can get sunburn on them. As far as how to adjust the size, it's recommended that you form a 90-degree bend at your elbow, and that's about the height of your pole. Although I find that when we hike downhill, I like my poles a little bit higher, and then if I'm going uphill, a little bit lower. And I tend to, on a really high, maybe you have to go over a rock or a large step that's, not code size, it's helpful to use your upper body sometimes to kind of help you get up over that, especially as we age. And going downhill really is the hardest part on any hike for me, and so these can really help, especially, with the little shock absorbing in the handle. That helps a little bit. And they've been just great poles. If you go to Black Diamond's website, you can see videos and see the huge array of poles that they sell, although I think you're going to get a better quality pole if you're up above $100 a pair. They go up to $200 and more. But these have been solid hiking, trekking poles for us. It is starting to rain, so we're going to get in the van and let it rain. And I hope that's been helpful, David.